This video is different than anything else I've done, I think. I have some yarn here from a yarn company that is actually local to me. And I'm gonna share kind of my first impressions of a bunch of yarn in this box. Hello and welcome to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. I am Jessica, the knitting pattern designer, and all of the things here at Snickerdoodle Knits, as well as Pattern Design Circle. If you follow the channel here, you see that I have the podcast for Pattern Design Circle and I help designers there. So this is Universal Yarn. I actually first discovered Universal Yarn at a yarn shop across the country. So I'm located in North Carolina. I found, figured out the Universal Yarn name when I was at a local yarn shop in Oregon across the country. I bought some of their yarn, and then not long after I got home, I realized that it was actually a company local to me. So you can find Universal Yarn in a lot of yarn shops, at least around the country, the US. I wouldn't be surprised if they also are in yarn shops around the world. And what I love about Universal Yarn is that, well, they have beautiful yarns, but what I really love is the price point. So when I first started knitting, I mostly bought from Michael's, which is a big box store chain here in the States. And I mostly bought the cheapest thing that I could find that I still was happy with the way that it felt. So this is one of my favorite yarns from big box store at the Lion Brand Heartland. And then as I started designing, started collaborating with indie yarn dyers, I started working with more indie dyed yarn. And there's a reason for the hype of indie dyed yarn. I love, it is very so soft and squishy and luxurious. But even now, when I'm making projects for myself or for gifts, indie dyed yarn still has a price point that I can't always afford. And I'm just not willing to pay that much for every single project. So I really love showcasing yarns that are a lower price point. If you're familiar with my patterns, for all of my patterns, I have yarn recommendations that are at varying price points. So a lot of my designs now are designed with indie dyed yarn. It's collaborations with the yarn dyer. But I provide recommendations for similar yarns that you can use that are available at a lower price point. So a lot of times that's, big box stores, but it's also yarns like Universal Yarn, which is kind of in between price point between big box store and indie dyed yarn. So without further ado, shall we open it? Another box says say hello to your new favorite yarn. Anyway, so the lovely folks at Universal Yarn sent me these seven yarns to share with you. So this is the first time I've ever had a company send me yarn just to share. Of course, quite a bit of it I hope to knit with, show you projects. At a minimum, I will show you swatches. But here I really just want to share my real opinion about these yarns. I can be pretty particular about the softness of the yarn. Especially when I'm working with it, just the texture of the yarn is really important to me. So I will be very honest about these yarns and how I feel about them. That's part of why I have these two yarns here, so that if you're familiar with like a typical merino nylon indie dyed yarn or like Lion Brand Heartland yarn, a box store yarn, I can kind of compare them to that. And of course, these are maybe some of the softer, they're not like cashmere or silk or anything like that, but for their fiber contents, they are going to be on the softer end of the spectrum, just because that's what I prefer. Alrighty, where do we start? Okay, let's start with this one. This is a really fun colored. This is called Color Burst. It is a 65% superwash merino wool and 35% acrylic. So it's merino and acrylic. And then they have all these colors here in the cake. It feels like a lot of yarn. There's 200 grams, 660 yards. So it's a fingering weight, or a, yeah, it says light, excuse me, it says lightweight, but 330 yards per 100 grams is maybe more like sport weight. This color is the romance color, in case you're wondering. My first thought is like, sure, it's fairly soft, but it is a touch scratchy. So it does feel a little bit like, maybe more like box store yarns. Now, I will say, I do, my first time touching a lot of the non-superwash merino yarns from like indie dyers, to me that feels a little bit scratchy too. So overall, this is a fairly soft yarn to me in my kind of pickiness. It's not just like buttery soft, but it is still pretty soft. It does have, I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up here. It has some fuzz to it. So if that's what you're looking for, that's a great thing. Yeah, and then it's fairly loosely plied. So if it feels like it's a project, I wouldn't want to use this, I don't think, for a project that I'm trying something new and I think I might be ripping it back 100 times. But for a lot of other projects, it would be just fine. It feels like it has a fair bit of grip to it. So like it's going to be even though it's a fine yarn, it's going to create kind of this full fabric. Yeah, so, and the colors are really fun here. It looks like it's really long color repeats. So that means that you'll have long strips of each color. But you know, the longer I feel it, the more soft it does feel. What does it remind me of? Oh, it reminds me of Scarfy yarn from Michaels. It might be a little finer, and a little higher quality, but that's what that reminds me of. I think that's Lion Brand Scarfy. All right, I'm gonna save my favorites to the last. The next one here, this is Uni Merino. It is a 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. It has 437 yards per 100 grams. So fingering weight, they call it super fine. It seems like it would be a really great stock yarn, obviously just by the content, but also it looks like it'll be quite durable. It's not nearly as fuzzy as this. So these feel like they would be like, this would be good for like a slipper yarn, or I feel like this would even be, well, it has the acrylic. It would be really interesting to experiment with felting with this. I feel like this would be, I've never done felting, but that's my first thought. I think it'd be really fun to experiment with felting with this one. But this, great for like, like fingerless mitts or socks, or really just anything that you are using a typical fingering weight yarn for. Sorry for covering up my mouth. I try to have my mouth visible for anybody who is reading lips. So anyway, this color, if you are curious, is called Sea Glass. It's such a beautiful color. It actually matches a lot of my kind of house decor theme as I'm sitting here. I have a water bottle, I have candles, I have wall art that all have this color. So I think it's a beautiful color. And yeah, I just think it's a great multi-purpose kind of yarn. Let's see here actually what they have to say about Uni Merino. A soft and elastic blend of superwash merino wool and nylon, Uni Merino is the perfect solid colored sock yarn, available in over 50 colors. So check out all those colors. For color burst, they said this is a DK weight blend of acrylic and wool, stunning in garments and accessories. I think it feels like a really great like shawl, like because of the colors. I would go like a shawl, scarf kind of thing. Maybe it might be kind of cool to see in a garment, like just because it'll be really long, I think, really long color changes. Single ply construction features long color runs that gently fade one to the next and has excellent stitch definition. This also looks like it would have amazing stitch definition. Alrighty. Next, let's do this one. It is called Essentials Soft Merino Aran, and guessing that means it's Aran weight. It has 100 meters per 50 grams, so I don't actually know what the yardage would be. It also says it's Rico design on the label, so I wonder if this is just a yarn. It's not Universal Yarn brand, it's maybe a yarn that they stock. But it's 100% virgin wool. So it's a really plump, beautiful, like squishy. I love the density of it. I probably would call it more of a DK weight. This is a DK weight, so for comparison. And I said I would compare softness here. It's actually fairly similar. It's it's not quite as soft as this indie dyed yarn, but it's pretty good. And it feels, I guess maybe the color doesn't help. It feels like a great yarn for like baby knits and things like that. And really just anything I love DK weight. So yeah, I'm thinking like cowls, hats, shawls. It would be really fun to do color work, I think, with this. It looks like it would have really good stitch definition. It is applied yarn, so that helps. And it just feels like it'd be super, super cozy and plump and squishy. Seems like a really great yarn to me. And what they say about it is this Aran weight yarn is made of 100% superwash virgin wool. With excellent stitch definition and a sophisticated color palette, Essentials Soft Merino Aran is sure to become a classic choice for sweater and accessory projects. Yeah, I would love to look at the whole color palette that they have here, and I feel like it would just be so much fun to do color work here. Alrighty, let's try now this one. I love this color, so beautiful, and the yarn is just gorgeous. It's got this tweed in it, and it's like a loosely plied, so it won't have as much stitch definition as like most of the other yarns that I've shown so far, but it looks like it would have beautiful drape. It looks like it would be great for shawls, like a summer top. Summer top would actually be really cool. Yeah, it seems like a really great, anytime you want some of that drape and a little bit more maybe kind of softness in your project. And when I say softness, I'm referring to like the drape, like it's just not as structured. So this is 50% wool, 25% alpaca, and 25% viscose. And 194 yards per 50 grams. So that's almost 400 yards per 100 grams. So that'd be like a fingering weight. Yeah, I think that I just love this. It's really pretty. It's made in Turkey, it says. My initial thought on the texture, it's a tiny bit scratchy. Not quite as much as this one. A little bit more than the Heartland. But I don't think when you're wearing it, it's going to feel scratchy at all. I think it's going to feel really soft. I don't know when you're knitting with it, if it'll feel scratchy at all. And to a lot of people, it probably won't feel scratchy at all. Probably this one will hardly will. So yeah, it's really pretty yarn, and I'm sure they have so many other gorgeous colors as well. It's just, even though it is a little bit, it's maybe a little bit more natural than I don't like saying that, but it's just a little bit more gritty than what I would typically go for, but I'm really loving it. And I really want to see it as a summer top. This definitely is not enough yarn to make a summer top though. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I need to share what they said. DK weight blend of alpaca, wool, and viscose. Kingston tweed looks gorgeous in garment and accessory projects that feature color work and textured stitch patterns. Oh, I was gonna say, like, it does have a tiny bit more halo to it. I don't know if you can see it all. Like compared to this one or this one. It's not maybe quite as fuzzy as the Color Burst. Okay, here we have Fibra Natura Cobblestone. It is 200 grams, 612 yards, so that'd be about 300 yards per 100 grams, which to me again sounds more like a sport weight, but it's very fine, so it looks to me more like a fingering weight. 100% superwash merino wool. And this is fun because it has the color change, the plying. So there's like a color change in there, but then it's also applied with another color. It looks like it's this sort of very light seafoam green. It almost looks like a neutral that is applied with all the other colors. So it gives a similar look to me as like Spin Cycle, for most likely a much lower price point. It's not quite as soft as maybe what, is my 100% preference. But it's still quite nice. like comparing it, yeah, I'd say it's maybe kind of similar to this, maybe a little bit softer, not quite sure. But I do think, like, I think when I'm actually working with any of these, I don't think it would really bother me. It's one of those things when I pick it up and touch it, and it's like, it's just not the buttery soft, but then I'm like, oh, it feels a little scratchy. And that's 100% just from touching way too much indie dyed yarn, superwash yarn. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful. It would be beautiful in like a shawl, a scarf. It'd be fun in a hat. Super fun in kids projects, baby projects. I think it would be fun as like a sweat, like a vest or something like that. Yeah, it's a really fun yarn, where I feel like it adds a lot of character, will add a lot of character to your project, regardless of what the project is. Like, it could be a really simple project and it'll look really fun because of this yarn. Alrighty, we're down to my two favorites. So the yarn that I actually had purchased, when I said I had purchased some in Oregon and then realized this company was actually fairly local to me, it's actually very local to me. This was the yarn, and I still haven't used the yarn. I have a different colorway, but it's bamboo pop, and I love, it's so soft. It's so soft. I wish you could touch it. So obviously I love this enough that I purchased it. It's the only thing that I had bought. You know, I went to several yarn shops, and I think it's the only thing that I bought the whole time I was there. Yeah, it's just, anyway, it's 50% cotton, 50% bamboo. It is almost 300 yards for 100 grams. So it would work as, I mean, like, in a sense, it's kind of like cotton yarns that you might use for dishcloths, but it's softer. And so I think it would be amazing for summer projects, for socks, for a summer top, for like a cardigan, summer cardigan kind of thing. And I think it would also be great for just general accessories. It doesn't have any wool content, so if there's somebody who has a wool allergy, this is great. And yeah, it's say it's a number 3 lightweight. To me it feels, it's like a maybe like a fingering sport weight. But when I share those yarn weights, don't use that as, you know, choosing what you're gonna like for a pattern. Don't like what I've put in this video. That's because I tend to be gravitated towards the really plump end of yarn. So like, this is a DK weight, but it's a very plump DK weight for DK weight. Yeah, so what else can I say about this? I love this yarn. It is seriously so soft. The color change, I do think it would be difficult to work in color work unless you can find a solid color bamboo pop to, you know, alternate back and forth between. And I'd be curious to see how this actually works up for like socks or something like that. Small circumference versus large circumference. But it really is, I don't know, such a fun, soft yarn. The reason I had bought it originally was to try it as a summer yarn. So, Bamboo Pop, a DK weight blend of 50% cotton and 50% bamboo that looks beautiful in garments and accessories for all ages. Our most popular yarn, approved for knitted knockers. So it's another great thing if you are wanting to make knitted knockers for charity knitting. This would be a great yarn. It is so soft. There's a reason it's their most popular yarn. Okay. All right, and then last but not least, this is my other new favorite yarn from Universal Yarn that I don't think I had seen before getting this box. It's called Wool Pop, and it is also very soft. I think after Bamboo Pop, it's the softest one in this box. I would totally, I would definitely buy this to knit with it, even as a, you know, like, I feel like some of these, maybe I would like compare it more to a box store yarn, just from my buying preferences at different locations. This I would definitely be attracted to in like a local yarn store, as would these two. But this one it just feels like a level higher. It is 50% bamboo, 35% wool, and 15% polyamide. So maybe we are learning that I love bamboo. And it is such a fun yarn. It's fairly tightly plied, and again, it's plying two different colors together, but I really love that it is not color changing. Maybe I'm just kind of a plain Jane, but I love like a cohesive look over a project oftentimes. And so this is something where like I just see, like, it could be anything. It could be a hat, it could be like I'd make a garment out of it for myself. And it still is like it's fun because it has the two colors in it. But it still gives kind of a simple vibe, it's not like a super busy vibe. So this has 284 yards per 100 grams, which is going to be closer to a DK weight, sport DK. What did they say? They said number 3 here. Well, I guess they probably tell me here. DK weight. So your next favorite stash staple, Wool Pop, is a DK weight blend of bamboo, wool, and polyamide with a silky soft feel and delicate sheen thanks to the bamboo fibers. This yarn looks beautiful in everything from cables to lace. Yeah, it will also have great stitch definition. It might be, I would swatch with it just for whatever you're making specifically because of the two different colors in it. But the yarn itself, it would have great stitch definition. Okay, so I guess I do have, I have the yarn weights here. Why was I'm making a big deal? Okay, so we have DK weight, DK weight. This one is sock weight. Extra fine merino wool. Oh, this one doesn't say what yarn weight it is, but I'm gonna say it's like a fingering weight. Well, it kind of has like a thick and thin maybe. And then DK weight, and this would be an Aran weight. So I did tell them my favorite is DK weight. So this would be this would probably be if I was just looking for a DK weight in general, this is where I would be most attracted to because it's going to be the most plump out of these DK weights. This would be the next most plump. But I guess this was a sock. This is the really squishy Aran. But yeah, anyway, so many, they really are super beautiful yarns. I hope I didn't sound super harsh by, you know, saying like this one's a little bit scratchier. Just like when you compare it to like something like this, it does feel a lot different. So if that is a big thing to you, like it is me, you might not be as drawn to this, and well, this is pretty good. This is the main one that I probably wouldn't purchase for myself, purely based on texture. Now, if you love things like scarfy yarn, or there's a yarn brand that's really popular in a lot of yarn shops. A very similar kind of idea, I think. If you don't pick things up that other people say are soft and you're like, that's not soft, that's not you, you probably will still love this. But for my other sensitive folks, that's really the only one that really feels that way. But these two are my absolute favorites. Wool Pop and Bamboo Pop. I guess the pop is just great. So soft. Bamboo's amazing. I haven't even knit with it yet, but that's my thoughts. And this will just be so squishy. Wonderful projects. Okay, anyway, that is my first box of yarn. If you have any questions about any yarns, let me know. Again, I will be swatching them up, probably making some projects. Like, this probably needs to be a baby something, right? Little guy only has a couple more months left to bake, so oh, and this, yeah, this one definitely has to be a project. I don't know what it is yet. This one I still want a summer top out of. This is, I mean, it's Bamboo Pop. I have to figure out what I'm gonna do with it, but I love it. This, I'm torn because I think the colors are perfect for a baby project. But I really want to see this color in like a shawl, like the color change in like a shawl situation. Maybe a blanket. Should this be a baby blanket? 600 yards. What if we did, what if we did those together? Okay. That might be a project together. These definitely will become projects. This, I love. I just need to figure out what I want to do in a smaller than a summer top. Yeah, alrighty. Those are these beautiful Universal yarns. Universal does always have every Friday, they have a new pattern that comes out for free, and the yarn that they use for that pattern is on sale. So it's on sale for the weekend. They just had Bamboo Pop on sale, and I didn't share it in time. But keep an eye on that. I am going to try to share in I'm gonna see if I can get their list of what yarns they'll be featuring to be on sale so that I can share it on Instagram. I can share it in the email list, so I can let you know what yarn is on sale every week. And otherwise, links are in the bio, in the description down below, for all of these yarns and for Universal Yarn in general. But if this is a new yarn to you, a new yarn company to you, I hope you're super excited. I love the price point. They really have beautiful quality yarns, and I'm so excited to work with these pops. Alrighty, see ya on the next one when I have swatches for all of these yarns.